this is Bob Mason from FX Empire and welcome to the daily crypto tech review of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin and Ripple's XRP. We are looking at the MACDs, the moving averages and the day's support, resistance and pivot levels. It is Wednesday the 9th of December. Jumping straight into Bitcoin against US dollar, we're looking at the hourly candlesticks. Choppy start to the morning. Gonna need to see Bitcoin move through the pivot at 18,641 to take a run at the first major resistance level sitting at 19,010. Going to need to see support from the broader market for Bitcoin to break out from 18,500 levels, however. So barring an extended rally on the day, expect that first major resistance level to cap any upside. In the event of a broad-based crypto rally and a rebound, resistance at 19,500 will likely be tested. The second major resistance level sits at 19,692. Failure to move through the pivot will bring the first major support level sitting at 17,959 into play. Barring another extended sell-off, Bitcoin should stay clear of the second major support level sitting at 17,590. Looking at the MACD, we've got a marked widening of the bearish histogram this morning, supporting a further loss through the morning, so we need to keep an eye on that. On the EMA, we're seeing the 50 pull back from the 100 and close in on the 200, suggesting a further downside ahead. So key through the early part of the day would be to move back through to 18,500 levels in the pivot level and then resistance levels into play. Failure to do that and you got sub 18s and support levels in play. Moving across to Ethereum against the US dollar, choppy start to the morning. Going to need to see Ethereum move through the pivot at 566.13 to take a run at the first major resistance level sitting at 584.13. Going to need to see support from the broader market for Ethereum to break back through to 580s. So barring an extended crypto rally on the day, expect that first major resistance level to cap any upside. In the event of a breakout, could see Ethereum test resistance at 610 before any pullback. Second major resistance level sits at 613.48. Failure to move through the pivot will bring the first major support level sitting at 536.78 into play. Barring an extended sell-off on the day, should see Ethereum avoid sub 520s. Second major support level sits at 518.78. Looking at the MACD, got a slight narrowing of the bearish histogram this morning, but nothing conclusive on direction for the day ahead. On the EMA, however, we are seeing the 50 pull back from the 100 and the 200, and the 100 narrow on the 200, suggestive of further downside ahead. So failure to move through the pivot of 566 and back through to 580s would bring support levels into play. Moving across to Litecoin against the US dollar. Bullish start to the morning after an early pullback. Going to need to see Litecoin move through the pivot at 79.04 to take a run at the first major resistance level sitting at 82.59. Going to need to see support from the broader market for Litecoin to break back through to 80s. So barring an extended crypto rally on the day, expect that first major resistance level to cap any upside. In the event of a breakout, got the second major resistance level at 88.47 and resistance at 90 to cap any upside on the day. Failure to move through the pivot, got the first major support level sitting at 73.16. Barring an extended sell-off on the day, Litecoin should stay clear of the second major support level sitting at 69.61. The 38.2% fib at 71 should limit any downside. Looking at the MACD, got a narrowing of the bearish histogram supporting this early upside this morning. On the EMAs, however, we're seeing the 50 continue to pull away and pull back from the 100 and the 200, with the 100 also pulling back from the 200, suggesting a further downside in the day ahead. So key through the early part of the morning would be to move back through the pivot at 79.04 and back to 80 levels to bring resistance levels into play. Failure to do that and support levels are in play. Finally, looking at Ripple's XRP against the US dollar, positive start to the morning after that early pullback. Going to need to see Ripple's XRP move through the pivot at 0.5731. to take a run at the first major resistance level sitting at 0.5963. Going to need to see support from the broader market for Ripple's XRP to break back through to 0.59 levels. So barring an extended rally on the day, expect that first major resistance level and resistance at 0.6 to limit any upside. In the event of a breakout, we've got the 23.6% fib at 0.6274 and the second major resistance level sitting at 0.6337 to limit any upside. Failure to move through the pivot would bring the first major support level sitting at 0.5357 into play. Barring an extended sell-off on the day, Ripple's XRP should avoid the second major support level sitting at 0.5125. The 38.2% fib at 0.5285 should limit any downside. Looking at the MACD, slight narrowing of the bearish histogram, but nothing indicative of a bullish day ahead, so we need to keep an eye on that. On the EMA, we're seeing the 50 pull back further from the 100 and the 200, and the 100 narrow on the 200, suggestive of further downside ahead. So key through the early part of the day would be to move through the pivot at 0.5731 and back through to 0.6 levels. Failure to do that, and support levels are in play.